You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for listening to the Locked On Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Mike Luke. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Monday to everyone. Thanks for making this your first listen of the day. All right, let's get right to it. Christian Koloko has declared for the NBA draft. Now, a lot of people are saying, I'm not surprised. I'm not really surprised either, but here's where I think it's a little bit different in that let's compare and contrast Ben Mathurin to Christian Koloko right here. Ben Mathurin is declaring for the draft, knowing full well that no matter how much he slides, he's going to be a first-round pick. He's that good. Everybody knows it. And when you're a first-round pick, you get a certain amount of money that comes along with that. You become a millionaire. Christian Koloko is probably going to be a first-round pick, but unlike Ben Mathurin, he is certainly not promised that. And when you're not promised that, that means that you're taking a chance right there, because a second-round pick is not a first-round pick, and that you don't get the money. You don't get guaranteed money. Now, there's a lot of second-round picks that have spent a lot of time in the NBA. I mean, heck, you could look at different Arizona guys. I mean, look at a Gilbert Arenas right there. Probably the best U of A pro. He was a second-round pick. He left early, obviously. But Koloko, I thought, had a lot to gain by coming back. I don't believe that a guy like Ben Mathurin had a ton to gain by coming back, being that if you're going to be a lottery pick, I mean, what, are you going to improve your standing 5 spots? I mean, that's, the returns are negligible at that point. Where if with Christian Koloko, he's got more than that late first, early second round potential. He really does, because he is probably the best defensive big man in the country. And if he's not, he's right there. And he's right there knocking on that door, because he can guard a wing. He can also guard a big man. And his shot blocking presence is natural, obviously. So defensively, he's good. You wish he was a little bit stronger, but his length, his timing will more than make up for most of that stuff. The problem, though, is on the offensive side of the ball. Now, he's improved a ton from last year to this year. In that last year, offensively, couldn't hang on to anything and generally got pushed out of the low post, was basically never really a presence, showed some potential, but was really never a presence. In the NBA, unless you're a Joel Embiid or a Nikola Jokic or somebody along that line, there's 2 different ways that you basically fall into stuff. You're a rim runner, which basically means that you run up and down the court, you catch alley-oops, you catch dunks, you catch whatever the case may be. Or you're a spread the court guy. Christian Koloko is never going to be a rim runner per se, in that his hands, even though they're much better, are just not in that realm where he can just grab the ball and just do essentially what he wants with it when he wants, because he's still going to fumble the ball. He's still going to have some issues in that regard. And he's not going to ever really be a back to the basket guy, because he's always going to have a problem finishing around the hoop, just because he's not the strongest guy in the world. And basketball, while it comes naturally to some bigs, is a little bit more of a work in progress for Koloko. Where he did have the ability, though, to maybe really make his mark was as a spread the court guy. Now, a lot of people say, well, what do you mean? He never showed that. If you watched some of the games, he shows actually a pretty feathery touch from about 12 feet. More so than that, though, he's also able to shoot he's able to shoot the 3. Now, he never showed it in the games, but anybody that's watched behind the scenes knows that he can get that, he can get that 9, or that he can get extended out to 3-point range. And it's not like a fluke, like, oh gosh, Koloko made a 3. He's got that ability, but if he had come back, I think he would have had the opportunity to be able to show that, because right now you're going to be banking on a team being patient with him. And I'm not sure that a team is going to bet on the come right there. Again, if he's a first round pick, this conversation means nothing because he's going to be a millionaire. Made the right decision. I just don't know that he's a lock to be that. And I think if he had come back to Arizona and shown that he could shoot the 3-point shot, maybe get a couple of those per game, I think all of a sudden then you start looking at a mid-first, maybe even a little bit higher, because his role in the NBA would be set at that point. You wouldn't have to be able to, extrapolate it out. Now, if you did watch him from the beginning of his freshman year to now, you would see that he's a much stronger player. And meaning that he's much stronger, you got to feel the Built Bar had something to do with that. Built Bar is, and our good friend John Schuster, like the blueberry muffin. I think that's fantastic. That's the flavor. But you know what's great about Built Bar is it doesn't taste like a candy bar. It tastes like a candy bar, except you're getting your much needed protein in there as well. Built Bar is where it's at. Christian Koloko probably consumes it. That's why he got stronger. You should too. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. All right, now let's talk about what this means for Arizona sports or Arizona hoops going forward. It's a big blow because if Christian Koloko comes back, you're looking at a team on paper with the front line of Dalen Terry, Azuolas Tubelis, and Christian Koloko. I'm not sure that it gets a lot better than that in the country. I mean, if you rounded out the roster properly, you probably are a national title contender. That said, this isn't going to be that type of team, I don't think. But let's just look at the people that are guaranteed to start. Kirk Reese is going to start. Azuolas Tubelis is going to start. Dalen Terry, assuming he comes back, is going to start. Those three are pretty much locks in there to start. Then after that, though, you start saying, all right, well, what about Oumar Ballo? Ballo is certainly a guy that's going to have the potential to start, but you do kind of wonder, is he going to be recruited over? Ballo's going to play. I mean, we all know that Ballo can play. He's already showed that in spades. But is he going to be recruited over? And that will there be somebody maybe from Europe or a high school kid that comes in and you're like, all right, well, he's got to start, and Ballo gets more of that 15-minute role per game. Ballo, this is going to be a big offseason for Ballo because if he can get into better physical shape, if he can get the game to slow down for him a little bit, he can really, I think, kind of push his way into that 25-minute realm mark. That's where I think that he can play. I think that he's, again, he's got that type of ability. With when you look at the rest of that roster, though, Pelle Larsson is much, much better than I gave him credit for. Much better. But, I don't still know that I want him playing 30 minutes a game in a position where I need him to score if I'm looking to compete for a national title. So you got to figure that spot's probably open right there. Arizona is going to hit the grad transfer market hard. I don't think that there's any doubt about that one. And I think that Tommy Lloyd certainly has something to sell because Arizona basketball's back, and he also showed that he plays grad transfer kids. So I would imagine that Arizona will do very well in that. And again, I think you're going to see some kids from overseas that are going to be on this team as well. I don't know who, but I think this roster will get 4 or 5 X